Hi, this is Shade with Tax Sale Support with another video in our Tax Sale Fundamentals series. For this video, we are talking about the three property tax enforcement systems, and for this one, we are actually on the second system, which is about tax deeds. So let's talk for a moment. In the last video, we talked about tax liens and how they work. Tax deeds are the other side of that coin. Why don't we talk about how exactly tax deeds work and what you can expect with tax deeds, who they're right for. Let's get into some details. First off, the red states utilize tax deeds, but that's also a little bit misleading because the yellow states also utilize a type of tax deed as well as the blue states too. So you have a lot of states here that offer some form of a tax deed. Now, what exactly do I mean when I say tax deed? Well, what a tax deed is it simply a type of property deed. So it's a property deed that local governments create after they have foreclosed on a property due to delinquent property taxes. So, in other words, when the county forecloses on property because people can't pay their property taxes, they need to create some type of a property deed. And because they're doing it due to delinquent property taxes, they call it a tax deed. It's like a quitclaim deed, or there are sheriff's deeds sometimes, different types of property deeds similar to those. Now, other things about the tax deed, it conveys full ownership rights. Okay, so uh, when you purchase a tax deed, you are purchasing the property outright. It's also free of encumbrances and other claims. And that's partly in due to the judicial foreclosure that the property has just been through prior to being offered at a tax deed sale. So, to help you understand a little bit better and how this works, counties that are located inside tax deed states have the power to foreclose on delinquent properties after a redemption period has passed. So, one of the primary differences between tax lien states and tax deed states is tax lien states can create a lien every year there are delinquent taxes that are owed. And in tax deed states, what's different is the county is just waiting out an overall redemption period. So, in some tax deed states, the county will still create liens against the property. In other tax deed states, they just simply wait out that redemption period and then foreclose on it once that period has come to an end. Now, most redemption periods in tax deed states range between 2 to 4 years on average. Uh, but the idea is fairly simple. It just doesn't happen quite as fast as it does with tax liens because you have to wait multiple years before it occurs. Now, the county has no interest in the property. Once again, they are only interested in collecting the delinquent money that's owed to them. But property foreclosure is the way they go about doing that. So once the county has foreclosed on a property, and by the way, when the county forecloses on a property because of delinquent property taxes, this is no ordinary foreclosure. This is a judicial foreclosure, meaning that it goes through the courts. It's totally different from what you would recognize as a bank foreclosure, which is what most people think of when you use the term foreclosure. But what a tax deed goes through is a legal foreclosure according to state law. It's fully binding. And it also uh, clears the property of any kind of encumbrance or claim because it was a first position uh, foreclosure, essentially, meaning that it takes priority or precedence over any other type of foreclosure. And part of the reason why state laws have to have that is because if the foreclosure wasn't first position, if it didn't go above and before everything else, then counties wouldn't be able to they wouldn't be able to foreclose on properties essentially because there would still be existing liens or claims against the property. So it's only through a judicial foreclosure that they can extinguish any kind of ownership rights to the property. But their whole purpose in doing this is so that they can hold a tax sale and they can sell these properties off to investors. Now, one of their motivations for doing this is to get a new property owner in the property that will begin to pay the annual property taxes, because most of these properties have gone for years at this point without paying their property taxes. So they want to get a new property owner in. So the county holds a tax sale where they will offer up all of these properties. It's just like a tax lien sale in that lists are normally available about a month before the sale. And with tax deed sales, another thing you'll find is that oftentimes the properties that are available at the beginning of the list are not the same properties that are available at the end of the list. And that's because during that time period, you have property owners that are about to lose the property coming up with the delinquent amount and paying off those taxes so they can keep it. And that's why you see properties drop off on those lists. Now, here's why tax deeds are the cheapest real estate available, hands down. You will not find a cheaper way to buy real estate anywhere in the United States. I know that for a fact. Here's why. First off, that judicial foreclosure. That judicial foreclosure gives the property something unique in that it doesn't have any type of encumbrances or claims. Even if you buy a property from somebody else, it doesn't necessarily mean the property is free of any kind of encumbrances or claims. That's part of the reason why people do title searches on properties, is so they can find out what the history is. But following a judicial foreclosure like this, that foreclosure wipes out everything. And so the judicial foreclosure is really a huge benefit to the investor. No personal interest in the property. This is the big one. And the reason for this is the county doesn't have a personal interest in what this property sells for. They're going to open the bidding up at just the amount that's owed in delinquent taxes, penalties, and fees. So we're probably talking about a few years worth of taxes. Maybe we're talking about 2 to 4 years worth of taxes and fees. Either way, we're not talking about a large sum of money. If you consider that your annual property taxes are not usually much more than 1% of the property's assessed value. In some cases, it can be more, but if we're averaging on it and saying that that property taxes are about 1%, then you could be looking at an opening bid that's maybe 5 to 10% of what this property is actually worth, or less in some cases. But the lack of personal interest on the part of the county is what really makes this unique. When you look at a normal bank foreclosure, if you were to attend one of the bank foreclosure sales, you could probably pick up a property maybe for cheaper than what you would be able to pay if you're buying it just off the market. But the discount you get will be limited, and that's because even though the bank has foreclosed on this property, and by the way, bank foreclosures are a non-judicial foreclosure. It's a foreclosure that does not go through the courts. Now, normally this would not be legal, but when you sign a mortgage contract, one of the things you sign away is your right to a judicial foreclosure. It's what's called a power of sale stipulation. And because it's one of the requirements the lender has, you basically give up that right to a judicial foreclosure. And for the lender, it makes sense because they want to be able to get people out of homes quickly if they're not paying. So that's their reasoning behind it. But when you attend one of these bank foreclosure sales, the bank may be willing to give up some money on the property, but overall, they're still the owner. And they still have that personal interest in wanting the property to sell for as much as it can. Tax sales are one of the only sales you'll find where the party selling the property has no interest in what it actually sells for. The county has the opening bid set at what's owed, so the instant it gets the opening bid amount, the county has everything they need. What it sells for beyond that isn't important to them. In fact, the county doesn't even really keep that money. They simply put it on the books. It's known as an overage, and it goes to the legal owner of the property at the time that it was foreclosed on. So Tax deeds offer tremendous opportunities. If you're looking for the best way to buy real estate for really cheap prices, or if you're just interested in property in general, tax liens wouldn't necessarily be the right thing for you. If you're interested in property, then we would direct you to tax deeds because these are properties that have just been foreclosed on, they're ready to go, and you don't have to wait through any kind of a time period like you would with liens and still have the chance of not getting it. With tax deed sales, they're just property sales outright, and the highest bidder wins. So there are lots of opportunities out there for tax deed sales. We appreciate you watching this video. If you would like to get more information like this, you can get a free ebook at secretsoftaxlieninvesting.com, or you can also go to taxsalesupport.com, which is our membership site where we have tax sale lists and training along with other things. So again, thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe.